Hey guys, what's up? So let us discuss the World War One and everything you need to know about it. It will be a detailed 2 3 parts lesson. So let's get started. Everybody should know the dates. 28th July 1914 it started. It's also called as the Great War because it was the greatest war till that point of time in the entire history, and it lasted for almost 4 years till 11th of November 1918, where it ended with Treaty of Versailles. Okay, so it's also called as VERSAILLES, Treaty of Versailles, whatever you want to pronounce it. It is also called as the global war because lots of countries, not all the countries were involved, but lots of countries were involved in this war, and it is also called as the war to end all wars. Because it was thought that it will end all the wars, but unfortunately that did not happen because Second World War happened just after 3 decades. And just to give you a rough estimate, it was so gruesome that approximately 2 crore soldiers were wounded, and 17 million people died in this war. Out of that, roughly 10 to 11 million were soldiers and 6 to 7 million were civilians. So that was World War One in a nutshell for you. So before we start, we need to see the European empires, because it is not a war between the countries, it is rather a war between the empires. Anybody who does not understand that will never understand what is World War. So we first need to know about the great empires of the Europe in the 19th and 20th century, because the entire war happened in Europe. World War One, the 99% of the focus was Europe, and empire building is the real reason for World War One. But otherwise, you can divide the entire causes into four parts. One is militarism, one is alliances, one is imperialism, and one is nationalism. It is called as main, that is a very simple mnemonic: military, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. We will discuss that in later parts. So now let us see British Empire. So as you can see, so British Empire comprised a lot of dominions, colonies. Okay, so they were under the United Kingdom. Everything which you can see in pink color, that is a British Empire. Can you see how huge it is? It comprises obviously of UK here, but UK is so small. Then it comprises of the entire Indian subcontinent, that is called as South Asia. Then you can see Egypt is there, partial control was there. Then you have Canada, entire Canada. US is a significant portion, as you can see here, this part. Then you have Australia complete. Then you have New Zealand, significant portion of Africa. So as you can see, 1/4 of the world population, that is 23% of the world population, that includes 412 million people by 1913, including our own country India, were under the British Empire. So they were one of the main belligerent in the war. Now let us see the German Empire. So German Empire started Otto von Bismarck. He united the entire Germany. 1871, the Germany. So this is the Germany and the surrounding area. And in 1871, there was a Franco-Prussian War. It led to the formation of Germany. Obviously, it became a great power. They have a rapidly growing rail network. They have world's strongest army. They had a fast-growing industrial base, and the navy was only second to the Britain's Royal Navy. And arms races had already been started between the Britain and the Germany, and Germans were present in Africa like Cameroon, Tanzania, as you can see here. So these countries include Togo, Cameroon, Namibia, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, these black countries. Okay, and French were also present in the part of the Africa, and so lot of this dependent on having access to resources, especially like resources which will help in industrialization, which was going on in Europe. Now let us see the another empire, that is the Italian Empire. So Italian Empire unification happened in 1870, but they initially refused to take part, and they switched sides and joined the allies. So that is a very important thing which you need to know. They had control over here. You can see Libya, Eritrea. This is part of Somalia. So here is Eritrea, Somalia, all these countries. It was a new empire. Its influence in the world was less, so you don't need to worry about it. This is the modern Europe, as you can see, and so basically it comprises the westernmost part of the Eurasia, and it is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean to the west. Okay, and it is Arctic Ocean. This is Arctic Ocean in the north. This is Atlantic Ocean in the west, and it has Mediterranean Sea in the south. And like most of the Europe is divided into the linguistic lines, like France will speak French, Germany will speak German, And this is one of the most important reason that the war happened, because of the feeling of nationalism, that we are German nations, we are France nation. So basically people had this nationalistic feeling. There was no nationalism before 19th century. There was no concept of nationalism at all. And modern Europe is modern because of these two world wars, which we'll talk about World War II in later lessons. So now let us see Europe in 1914. As you can see, this is the German Empire, this is the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Austro-Hungarian Empire, somewhere here is Bosnia, here is Serbia. This Serbia is one of the most important reasons that there was a conflict between Serbia and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and that is why the issue arose of World War One. Like that was a trigger point. Then you can see between German and Russian Empire there were a bunch of linguistic groups. They are called as Balkans. They are now independent nations. Earlier they were ruled by various empires like Ottoman empires, etc., but they got their freedom, and their area kept on changing throughout the 18th, 19th century, even 20th century. Their areas kept on changing. That is why it is called as Balkans. And people were afraid that India will also undergo balkanization, because there are so many languages which we speak, but we have stood the test of the time, and it has been almost 7 decades since we were independent, and yet nothing has happened to India, and we are going strong. Now there was Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was trying to like get together these multi-ethnic groups into one nation and like just like subsume them. Now let us see the Ottoman Empire. So as you can see, this is the Ottoman Empire. As you can see here, it consisted of modern day Turkey, much of the entire Middle East like Saudi Arabia, Arab world, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, etc. It was huge back then. Now let us see the Balkan region. When we talk about Balkan region, it is called as the powder keg of Europe, because from three sides it is being attacked. Can you see? This is the Russian Empire, this is the Ottoman Empire, and this is the Austro-Hungarian Empire. All three are fighting for them. So they are the powder keg of Europe, means Barud, and they will be like jaldi hi, like they will catch fire, and it happened. And the major European like Russian Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, German Empire, Ottoman Empire, United Kingdom, Kingdom of Italy, everybody was interested in Balkan, and there was a huge feeling of nationalism, and that is why the Balkan region was a very important and crucial reason for World War One. Now there were a lot of ethnic divides like Slovenian, Croatia, and the Balkan region. They were predominantly Roman Catholic. Kosovo had a lot of Muslims. It was not a unified state, and there was significant friction with a lot of communities. Lot of battles happened there before the World War One. And as I was talking about, that was huge growth in nationalism, and indigenous people of this region, they led to the formation of independent state of Greece, Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Romania, Albania later on. And Ottoman Empire also breakdown, which led to the fall of Caliphate, and lots of other people, a lot of other countries in the Balkan region, they wanted to have their own region as well. So now let us see the Balkan region in 1914. As you can see, this is the Hungary, Austria, Croatia. This is Bosnia, as I was talking about. So this is entire Austro-Hungarian Empire. This is Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Romania, and these are the modern independent nations as of today. So this is the Turkey, and this is Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia. Can you see this? The entire map has changed. Can you just see that the maps have completely changed from this to this? If you see properly, like this is Croatia, Austria, like just like try to see the countries have shifted, so to speak, and their boundaries have completely changed. So that is what I meant when I told you that the lot of stuff happened between these countries. Now let us see the politics behind the Great War. What was the politics? So obviously you know that on one side there were the triple entity and there was a triple alliance. So now let us see one by one what it was. In alliance system, when we talk about, so in 1839 there was a Treaty of London. Just remember this. This is one of the most important reasons. People thought it will not be there, but I will start with 1839. Britain had signed to protect neutrality of Belgium. So when Germany tried to attack France, they entered Belgium. And when Germany entered Belgium, Britain joined the war on the pretext of a treaty which was signed. Everybody forgot about it 80, 90 years ago. But Britain said, since Belgium's sovereignty is being violated, that is why we will enter into the war. Okay, so that was Britain's official excuse of why they entered the World War One. Then in 1892, there was a Franco-Russian military convention, and there was a treaty where military assistance between France and Russia will be there. In 1879, there was a dual alliance treaty between Germany and Austria and Austro-Hungary Empire to protect each other if Russia attacks. And in 1882, there was a triple alliance between Germany, Austro-Hungary and Italy. So just remember GATE. So in medical science, GATE means the way you walk. So I always remember this mnemonic. I read about World War I 4 years ago, yet I still remember vividly GATE. So G say Germany, A say Austro-Hungary, I Italy, and T is triple alliance. Just remember GATE. Okay, you'll never forget that these countries come together. GATE, GIT, Germany, Austro-Hungary, and Italy. But if you see, they are geographically contiguous as well, so you don't need to worry about that. So if you can see, this is Germany, this is Austro-Hungary, and this is Italy. So this is the, as you can see, they are geographically contiguous, so you don't need to worry about that also. Now let us talk about the France and Russia is there, and Britain is with Belgium. So this Britain, France, and Russia. So first of all, Britain and France, they signed a treaty which is called as Entente Cordial. Okay, sorry for this and pronunciation, I don't know. So UK plus France, they signed Entente Cordial in 1904. UK had already sworn to protect Belgium in 1839, and in 1907 you had a triple entente between UK, France, and Russia. That is called as triple entente because Russia joined as the third member. And in 1907, you separately had an Anglo-Russian convention between British and Russia. So now this system is clear. So Franco-Russian alliance, it was a political and military pact that developed between France and Russia. And basically it was due to the common fear of Germany's aggression and to counter it unitedly. The dual alliance, on the other hand, which I was talking about here, so it was between Germany and Austria-Hungary. It was created on 7th October 1879. So Bismarck wanted to prevent or limit the war, and the two powers promised each other in case Russia attacked them. So Otto von Bismarck was very famous for this, to preserve peace in Germany, and there was a common dislike for Russia for both Germany and Austria. Now, in 1881, what happened was Italy lost to France in Tunisia, and then to just get support, Italy joined Germany and Austria-Hungary to form the Triple Alliance in 1882, as I was talking about. So this was the first formal war camp in Europe, and the second one was Triple Entente in 1907. And during World War I, this is an important point which everybody should know. Italy refused to go to the war. It stayed neutral, but just after 1 year, Italy switched the sides. It joined the Entente powers, and it joined Britain, France, and Russia, declared war on Austro-Hungary and later Germany in the subsequent year. And Russian Empire, they advanced into Central Asia. They and the British Empire, on the other hand, was like conquering South Asia. It led to intense rivalry between Russia and Britain because they had their different colonies. And finally, German power also emerged as a world power. Okay, and it helped get Britain and Russia, they got closer together, and there was a conflict in Afghanistan, Iran, and Tibet. And finally, when Russia-Japan war was about to erupt, France and UK were on the verge of being dragged into the conflict. France was with Russia, and UK had recently signed the Anglo-Japanese alliance as well. And in order to avoid going to war, both powers forged Entente Cordial in 1904. So this was the reason why it happened. Now, finally, let us see the map. So as you can see, the green is called as a Triple Entente. So this is Russia, France, and United Kingdom. Obviously, there are a lot of areas here also in Africa. Whatever is under United Kingdom, it is the part of the Triple Entente. When we talk about Triple Alliance, it is the German Empire, Austro-Hungary, and Italy. So this is the entire picture which you should know. Green is Triple Alliance and brown portion is Triple Entente. In next lesson, we'll start with Scramble for Africa and whatever happened, the Berlin Conference, and what was the role of Bismarck and Eastern European question and Treaty of San Stefano, Balkan Wars, and so on and so forth. Thank you for watching this lesson. Have an awesome day. So we have discussed about World War I, how the alliance formed, how Entente formed, and all that things have been covered. So now let us move forward in World War I, and Scramble for Africa will be the first point of discussion. So the Berlin Conference of 1884-85, what happened with this is, so there was a lot of colonization of Africa which was happening by European countries like Germany, Italy, UK, France, etc. because of resources which are in Africa, which will help in industrialization and economic development, and it will also like trade in Africa. And this was during the new imperialism period. And because Germany was united in 1871 under Bismarck, so it was like there was sudden emergence of Germany as an imperial power, and Bismarck was the first chancellor of Germany. Then there were 13 European countries, United States. They met in Berlin to agree to the rules of African colonization. So from 1884 to 1914, that is 30 years. So this entire continent was conflict because these countries used to fight among each other. The European countries I'm talking about. Okay, so they used to look territory, power from existing African states and people. So finally, it sowed the seeds of friction between these imperial powers, and it led to a lot of conflict. So this was because of scramble for Africa, because they wanted to have resources and to show off their strength. Now, Russian aspiration in Eastern Europe is also very important. So basically, there was a war between Russia and Turkey in 1877 to 78. So there was a conflict between the Ottoman Empire and the Eastern Orthodox coalition, and it was led by the Russian Empire. It composed of Romania, Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, etc. So the war was fought in the Balkans, as I have already pointed out the reason, and in the Caucasus region, the Caucasus mountain in Georgia, that region, and it led to the emerging of the Balkan nationalism. So additional factors included like Crimean War may like there was Russia lost some territory, so they hoped to recover that territory, and Russia wanted to re-establish itself in the Black Sea. Again, that is important because there were a lot of pathways which used to pass into the Aegean Sea, and Russia wanted to control those trade routes. So, supporting the political movement in order to attempt the free Balkan nations from the Ottoman Empire. So, finally, there was an important treaty which is called as Treaty of San Stefano. It was signed between Russia and Ottoman Empire, and San Stefano is a place near Constantinople. And the treaty it ended the war of Russia and Turkey in 1878. This the war of 1878. So the Balkan wars consist of two conflicts which took place in Balkans Peninsula, and it was in southeastern Europe, as I've already spoken in the last lesson what is Balkan region. And these two wars took place in 1912 and 1913. Now four Balkan states they combined together and defeated the Ottoman Empire in the first war, and one of the four, Bulgaria, they suffered defeated. But in the second war, the Ottoman Empire lost the large majority of its territory in Europe, and Austro-Hungary Empire, though it was not fighting the war, but it became weaker because Serbia pushed for Pan-Slav movement, which meant union of the South Slavic people. Now you have to remember that the Russians are also Slav people, so they have a natural alliance towards the Slav people of Serbia and the Balkan region, and this led to the Balkan crisis of 1914. So this because of these two wars of 1912 and 1913, Russia-Turkish war, and this was basically just the starting point of the First World War. So how did it all started? So now let us see the beginning of World War One. So Serbia was not the part of Austro-Hungary Empire, but Bosnia was the part of Austro-Hungary Empire, and Bosnia and Serbia shares a boundary. So Serbia was the center for the nationalistic movement for Yugoslavia, that is a Pan-Slav movement. And in 1908, Austria annexed the Bosnia-Herzegovina region. Okay, so now this is a problem. So Serbians were obviously annoyed with Austria for this annexation because they wanted the entire Slav people to unite. Okay, so this is the reason why it happened. And the trigger point, which is just 1 month after this, the war started. So on 26 June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated by Gavrilo Princip. Okay, Black Hands was the organization to which this guy belonged, and when he was traveling there, so he shot them down. And the Ferdinand, he was the heir, he was a prince, and he would have succeeded to the throne of the entire Austro-Hungarian Empire. So obviously, if you kill such a powerful man, you will definitely invite war. And Gavrilo Princip, he was a Yugoslav nationalist, so that's why he killed him. And this was his quote, that I am a Yugoslav nationalist aiming for the unification of all Yugoslavs, and I do not care what form of state, but must be free from Austria. So that is why he killed the main guy. Now obviously Austro-Hungary Empire did not like it. They blamed Serbia and they wanted Serbia to surrender their entire army. Very humiliating terms were set for Serbia, and Serbia did not accept those terms, and that is how the war began after the July crisis. So in June, as you can see, in June 1914, he was shot dead, and in July there was a crisis, and on 28th July the Great War started. It's called a July crisis because a lot of people wanted to avoid this war, but it could not be done. So, as I was talking about, that Austro-Hungary Empire issued very humiliating terms to Serbia, and when Serbia did not accept it, because Serbia had the backing of Russia, because Serbia at the end of the day is a Slav nation, and they have linguistic connection with Russia, and Russia were not happy with the treatment which Serbia was receiving. So, because Serbia had the backing, they did not accept. Austria declared the war on Serbia, and so Russians began to mobilize troops to scare Austro-Hungary Empire, and then, as you might be knowing, the domino effect. When one thing falls, everything falls after that. If that is balancing on each other, so just try domino effect on YouTube. You'll get the lot of videos, lot of good quality videos, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So now the Great War started on 28th July 1914. Now what happens is Germany has an alliance with Austro-Hungarian Empire. So Germany will declare war on Russia. So first Austria declares war on Serbia, Russia joins Serbia, Germany declares war on Russia, so Germany joins Austro-Hungarian Empire. Germany is an ally of Austro-Hungarian Empire by Dual Alliance Treaty of 1879. Germany also declares war on France because France is Russia's ally, because there is a Franco-Russian military convention of 1892. Now, why Germany attacked Russia and France? So this is an important point, because Germany considered Russia's growing military power as a very big threat, and Germany wanted to dominate the entire Europe, and Russia was the biggest obstacle in that. And German were convinced that, bhai, this is the best chance. We have the support of Austro-Hungarian Empire. Italy is in our support, as I was talking about. The mnemonic is GATE, GAIT, Germany, Austro-Hungary, Italy, and T. Okay, so that's how you can remember it. So Germany wanted to eliminate Russia, and France was Russia's ally. So naturally, if you want to show your military prowess, you have to defeat the allies as well. There is nothing you can do about it. So now the Great War starts. So Germany invades Belgium, because if you see the map, so here is France, let's say here is Germany. So the best way to go to France is via Belgium. Now, as I was talking, that Britain in 1839 signed a treaty where they said that they will protect Belgium. So Britain declared war, and Britain, France, and Russia united, and Germany, Austro-Hungarian Empire united. Italy did not participate, and later on they fought from the British side. So best way to enter France was through Belgium, and this was the plan was called as Cliffen Plan. Okay, this is the spelling of that plan in case they ask you. It was the name given after World War I to the thinking behind the German invasion of France and Belgium on 4th of August 1914. Can you see how fast Germany moves? 28th July the war was declared, 1st August, 3rd August declaration, 4th August already invaded Belgium. Now Britain declares wars on Germany because Britain had signed Treaty of London to protect Belgium. Now why Germany attacked Belgium? It was a neutral country, because Germany wanted to attack Paris from behind through Belgium, as directly attacking France was very big blunder. It was not militarily possible. Now why Britain joined the war? Obviously, like, they did not want to protect Belgium's neutrality. It was just a like fake reason. Okay, so real reason was the quest for the supremacy in the European world, because Britishers were already ruling 1/4 of the entire world, so they wanted to prove that we are the big daddies. Now Germany was challenging Britain's hegemony in Europe, because Germany was leading producers in so many things: artificial dyes, oil, industrial revolution, either first or the second position, navy. So either Germany was first or Germany was second. So British felt that if Germany wins the war, it will definitely attack Britain to become the supreme power of Europe and the supreme power of entire world, because Germany had a lot of aspiration. So the best way to stop Germany is to attack right now. Now war moves on, and Germany, it gets initial success. They reach Paris. Then there is Battle of Ypres. I don't know how to pronounce it. So the first Battle of Ypres was fought on the Western Front around Ypres, which is a place in Belgium, during October and November of 1914. So the fight was between the German, French, and Belgian armies. So they wanted basically to advance towards the coast, both the armies, and there was a huge casualties on both the sides. Like, large number of people died. So actually people thought thousands of people were dying every day. As I was talking about, that almost 2 crore people died in this war, including civilians. And here also Ottoman and Russian were old rivals in the Strait of Dardanelles. So what is this Strait of Dardanelles? Near Aegean Sea there is a water channel which helps in the trade, and Russian wanted to control that. So now trench warfare, that was there earlier also, but World War One made it very very famous because of the invention of machine guns. If you are just out of trench, a machine gun will split you in two parts. So entire soldiers used to live in these trenches and they died because of poor hygienic condition. There was no antibiotics because Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin later on, okay, after like 10 years after the war. And the western front of the war, that is German French border, it was a point of stalemate for 3 years. And there was a lot of machine guns, and war dragged on, like people, because the technology was so improved that you cannot get out, and artillery fire was also there. So the soldiers used to fight from these trenches, and lot of people died. Most of the people died because of the health issues and not because of the actual bullets and bombing. So now the question people ask is how it became a global war. So now Japan also wanted to become a superpower, and it needed more land and resources because they are confined on their islands. So during World War One, the easiest target was the German colonies in East Asia and Pacific. So Germany was busy in Europe. So Japan was free to take the German Micronesian colonies, and because Japan attacked Germany because it had signed a treaty with the Britain. In part one, I have told you about that. So Germany had signed military treaty with Britain. Now, because of this thing which Japan did, so following Britain's declaration of war on Germany on 4th August 1914, Australia and other members of the Britain, they automatically became involved. And Australia and New Zealand considered Britain as their mother country due to their common cultural roots, because there was no people who lived in Australia and New Zealand, not at large numbers, very few people. So Anzac Day is commemorated in Australia and New Zealand in memory of the martyrs who died in these wars. So there was a lot of global naval war between UK and Germany during that time also. So Anzac Day is still remembered till today. Now finally, in 1914, USA wanted to stay out of a potential foreign European conflict, and but what happened in President Woodrow Wilson won the 1916 election to maintain neutrality, that we will never fight and so on and so forth. We will never do anything. But what happened in May 1915, German discovered U-boats like before that. So Germany used to attack passenger boats. So in Lusitania incident, 1200 people died, and they were civilians and they were Americans. So German U-boat sank the British liner Lusitania, killing 1200 people. It included 130 Americans, and this put a lot of pressure on the President Woodrow Wilson. And the revelation of the Zimmermann telegram, which was the signal intercepted by the British intelligence from Germany to Mexico, and this message offered Mexicans the return of territories which was lost to the USA if they joined the war on Germany's side. Okay, so this become the trigger point, and USA declared the war. And after 3 years, that is on April 6th of 1917, Congress voted to declare war on Germany, and USA entered the war in 1917. There was a 14-point program by Woodrow Wilson which included peace, etc. I'll talk about that later on how USA entered into the war. So we'll continue our discussion. Thank you for watching this. Have an awesome day.